Really quickly, guys, I just wanted to put a disclaimer at the beginning of the podcast. This week, the feedback section went for quite some time, so if you guys are just interested in jumping into the gaming news, just fast forward to the 37-minute marker. That's where it picks up at. And Goose, I meant to say I can't thank you enough, brother. You'll understand what I'm talking about if you listen to the feedback section. Thank you guys so much and enjoy the podcast. This week on the Analog Circle podcast, Kingdom Hearts is allegedly coming to Disney Plus. We get an extended look at The Last of Us Part 2. Sony announces the PlayStation 5's reveal event date. We get an alleged release date for the rumored Metroid Prime Trilogy, and Sega is teasing something, quote, revolutionary. All of these stories and quite a few more can be found in this episode, which is episode 130 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and I truly want to say welcome to the podcast. Now, if you guys want to find the podcast over on various different platforms, different places to listen to some of the previously recorded episodes of the podcast, you can find the podcast over on SoundCloud, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, as well as Apple Podcasts. And if that's not good enough for you and you just want to try to figure it out some other way, type the show into Google and enjoy yourself. Now, guys, without further ado, I want to get into my favorite, that's right, my favorite part of the podcast, and that is, of course, the feedback section. Now, if you, the listener, want to be a part of this section of the podcast, you can do it two different ways. You can either call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. Now, guys, I want to go ahead and get things started this week with, let's go ahead, because we got a full, let me tell you, it's a full packed house in the feedback section, and I absolutely love it. So let's go ahead and let's get things started with my guy, with the dude that kept this section of the podcast alive. We're gonna go ahead and start with Mr. Cody Clark, who writes in. Now, the title of his email is One Red Ring to Rule Them All, and in the DLC, Bind Them All. Oh, that says interesting. Now, let's get into the email. He says, competition is one thing, but when we call something a war, that maybe isn't the best way to look at how products compete with one another. We don't really have a car war between Ford and Chevy, or Ferrari and Lambo, or Mitsubishi and Subaru. They solve their differences on the track, level playing fields. Mostly didn't cheat, or rather didn't get caught. I like that. He says the competition between consoles is innately based. Most people will choose a side based on personal experience, be it a favorite game or a community they were a part of. Goalposts get moved, facts are forgotten, companies themselves hide secrets or focus on one attribute above others. In my cyberpunk future fantasy world, I'll be able to buy any game I want at any time, install it on my Universal Play device, and play when I want, as long as I want, with whomever I want. In the meantime, we are in a watered-down arms race where the corporations are letting us devour each other while they drop feed us less and less as they charge and cut features that have been a part of games since before most of us were born. 2077 can't get here fast enough. I agree with that, brother. I'm waiting for that on pins and needles. But Cody Clark, the MVP, that's what I call him. I want to say thank you for this email, brother. Now let's go ahead and hop on in. So Cody, I definitely agree with you. The goalposts, as far as the goalposts being moved and facts being forgotten. And speaking of the facts being forgotten, Cody, people, and I've brought this up a million times, I hate to sound like that broken record from back in the day, but people forget that in 2013, Microsoft really showed off games at that E3 event. The event previously to the E3 event was where they talked about TV and then when stuff just went sideways. So you're right. Facts do get forgotten. Now, I also like your car analogy by saying they can settle their differences, whether it's Lamborghini or Subaru and Mitsubishi. They can settle their differences on the track. But I look at the race, right? Between with the consoles, I look at that race as being it comes down to the games, the console's features, and the console power. Now this generation, we can't forget Xbox, because I know you said that facts and things get moved around, people forget, and people they don't always remember things clearly, but we remember that Xbox, they were the favorite at the beginning of this generation, but you're right. Like I said, people are always going to be biased, but it's up to the company to switch that around. And we see that's exactly what Sony did this gen. They made AAA exclusives and they got marketing rights to games just like Microsoft did during the 360 era. And Cody, you're my dude, brother. Man, I mean, good grief. You give so much great information, so many great questions, brother. But there is no way that I would ever want a universal play device, brother. Can you imagine if we are getting ripped off right now, Cody, by these manufacturers? I mean, you're saying they're drip feeding us, they're cutting features away. Can you imagine, Cody, if it was just one console manufacturer with all of that power where it is no other competition? Oh, brother, we gonna be getting wrecked, brother. It ain't no way we gonna be able to. Gaming would go so far down, man, having one manufacturer in the place of everybody else. No competition, no nothing. Man, Cody, it would be a sad, sad day. But, I definitely understand where you're coming from, Cody. Things do get switched around. People forget. Sometimes it's an unfair advantage for some. Like you said, some people, they're going to be biased, no matter what, because they love a franchise on a certain console or it's a certain ecosystem that they're used to. But I always say that like I just said, brother, it's up to the console manufacturers to give us the reason why we should switch over. Sometimes it can be unfair, but like I mentioned earlier, Sony, they were the underdog this generation. They were not supposed to be in the position that they're in right now. Granted, last generation, they pulled it together at the last, not the last minute, but the last maybe 2 years or so. They pulled it together and they slightly went ahead of Microsoft. But like I said, it's up to them to even the playing ground. And right now, Microsoft, they got a lot of great things going for them. They have some momentum on their side. They have some great features that we're going to talk about this week. And, we're going to see what happens. But Cody, I truly, truly appreciate your email. It's been a while since I've heard from you, brother. It's great to hear from you. I hope you're taking care of yourself, and I hope you're doing well. And brother, I can't thank you again for this email. Thank you so much, brother. Now, moving on into the next email, we're gonna go ahead and go with let's go with Mr. John. He is up next. Let's see what Mr. John is talking about. Now, the title of his email is Miscellaneous. Oh man, version 2. I like this is a play off of last week's email. Okay, brother. He says, "What's up, Cork Emperor 33? What's going on, John?" He says, "In my opinion, yes, console wars are good for gamers. Back when Sony was the underdog on the PlayStation 3 versus Xbox 360 era." No, they wasn't, brother. I just said no. Anyway, we're gonna finish this up. My bad, John. I'm being very rude right now. Let me finish reading your email, brother. He says, "I went with Sony and I was I was quote, I like this, enjoying myself while playing online for free on the PlayStation 3 for many years. Imagine if Sony would have stuck with the free online gaming while entering the PlayStation 4 era. Woof. Microsoft would have no choice but to make it free too. On PC, you don't need to pay for online gaming. Forward today, Xbox is the underdog and has introduced the ultimate gaming program, the Xbox Game Pass. I haven't bought a game in months. I'm only gonna buy one game this year, and it's Cyberpunk. I'm also not paying full price for Cyberpunk due to Game Pass for having an awesome rewards program that gives you points daily for challenges completed. Wow, that's cool." He continues to say, "You can exchange those points for awesome rewards, including Xbox credit, Domino's pizza gift cards, Starbucks gift cards, etc." Man, I got to get up on this program, man. He says, I can't wait for what the upcoming console wars bring us gamers. Healthy competition is always welcome. Haters gotta stop hating and quote, enjoy themselves. My question for you is, when will you reach out to Microsoft and get Phil Spencer on your show for a Q&A? Oh, shucks, brother. Whoa, we're shooting for the stars right now. He says, I think the time is right. The stars have aligned themselves for you, my boy. I remember the last Q&A you did was a while ago, and it was with the great Richard Rouse, and it was awesome. I appreciate that. Very kind words from you, brother. Also, the Q&A you did with the amazing Goose was legendary, my boy. I learned so much about the developer side of gaming from that Q&A. Yeah, Goose is great, man. Shout out to you, Goose. The Analog Circle podcast is my number one podcast, and I listen to many, but you got that spunk, my boy. Thank you for always putting a smile on my face. Thank you for your time, and thank you for reading my email. Drive safe and be safe. Wow, John. Man, brother, first off, let me say thank you for this very, very kind email. I was not expecting for you to say the Analog Circle podcast was your number one podcast. That means, man, a ton to me, brother. Wow, I'm kind of taken aback by such a kind compliment. But man, let me get into your email though, brother. You said quite a bit here, John. Now, like you said, I wanted to just say that back when the 360, and I mentioned it when on Goose's email, but back then the 360, they were the 360 was the underdog. The PlayStation 3, they were the one that was everybody was expecting to win, because you got to think about it. people thought that PlayStation was going to win out the gate because of the PlayStation 2's dominance in the industry. And then you cap that with the 2005 E3 show that Sony had. It was insane, man. So they weren't the underdog back when the 360 and the PS3 came out. It was definitely Microsoft, and they showed up and they showed out, man. I'm waiting to see that same Microsoft come back to the table. But let's continue with your email, though, brother. It's a great email, too. Now, like you said, you were talking about the competition. You know, competition is always great. That's the best thing you can have when it comes to trying to get innovative things from different companies when they're fighting for our dollars. And you had mentioned, if Sony had came out this generation and said that online was free on the PlayStation 4 and they didn't cross over like they did, this generation, because last generation, PlayStation 3, their online was absolutely free. I didn't play online on the PlayStation 3, so I don't know how great it was. I heard people say, John, it was a little shaky, brother, but I can't speak on that for myself. But the point that I'm making is that's a great question. That's a heck of a conversation to have. If PlayStation decided to come out this generation and say, nah, we're sticking to the free online model and we're not going to have you pay for online. Man, how could Microsoft had tried to say, well, hey, we're going to just keep our servers up and keep you paying that, what's it, $60 a year for Xbox Live? I don't think it would have flew. I think they would have had to have caved and say, well, shucks, at least bare minimum drop the price. So that is a very interesting conversation that we could be having if PlayStation didn't cross over and do the same thing that Microsoft was doing. So I definitely agree with you on that. And I like the fact that you brought up that you are only buying one game this year, and it's Cyberpunk 2077, brother. That like I was talking about on Goose's email, that is one of my most anticipated games this year. The game can't get here fast enough. And the reason why you said you're only getting one game is because of Game Pass. Now, this is the thing, John. This is what I'm hoping happens to Sony. It's competition. Their numbers are great right now on Game Pass. Last time they were talking about 10 million subs, 10 million plus subs on Game Pass, or was it 20 million? I'm forgetting the numbers, but it was a heck of a great amount of people in such a short period of time that is on that Game Pass service. So what I'm hoping is competition. Once again, here we go, brother. You have PlayStation on the other side, and who was it? Oh man, one of that people, was it Jim Ryan, or I don't know who the heck it was. I'm forgetting his name. Man, it's making me upset. But they said that they will not be going day and date with any of their games right now. I believe this same guy, if it was Jim Ryan, he said nobody wants to play old games either, right? But yet you see Microsoft. You see what they're doing, brother. All of a sudden, Mark Cerny hits the stage and they're talking about backwards compatibility all of a sudden. Competition, brother. So, I mean, I'm hoping that because of that, Sony one day, I'm not saying it's going to happen next year. I'm not saying it's going to happen the year after, but one day, maybe Sony says, you know what? This doggone Game Pass, this thing is not going away, and we need to do something. Because right now, our feet are being held to the fire. John, let me tell you. I can't just speed past the other point that you made talking about the other interviews that I had. Yeah, shout out to Richard Rouse. He was amazing. It was great to talk to him, and shout out to, and be sure to check out his game, Church in the Darkness, man. I mean, they worked very, very hard on it. He was such a fantastic guest. Shout out to him, and shout out to Goose too. Guys, Goose really went over quite a bit of information about independent development. I mean, he gave a lot of insight. I would highly recommend you guys, if you want to just get a peek behind the curtain, to definitely check those interviews out. And I would also tell you guys to check out, it was another interview I had with Mr. Simon Vicklin, where he talked about his latest game, which is GTFO. And as well as that, he didn't only talk about that, but he also talked about various struggles of why some games that are on PC don't come to console. Now, Vicklin, he actually worked on, outside of GTFO, he had worked on Payday 2, Bionic Commando 1, Bionic Commando 2 Rearmed, as well as Bionic Commando. So that was a very, very good conversation as well, just talking about just gaming development in general. That was back in February. Check that out. But John, I truly, truly appreciated this email, brother. Really means a lot to me. Thank you for writing in, and I look forward to hearing from you again very, very soon. Please keep the emails coming, brother. Now, I want to go ahead and get into, God dog, we 20 minutes in. Holy smoke. Good gracious, good gracious. I'm gonna try to, you know what? I said that I was supposed to be putting minute markers in here. I think I'm gonna just leave something at the beginning of the show to let people know if they want to get to the gaming news. I need to do better with that. But with that being said, I want to go ahead and get into Mr. Vaughn's voicemail. So Vaughn, what I'm gonna ask you to do, brother, is at this moment in time, go ahead, you got the floor, and take it away.
What's up, Kiaun? My God, this is Vaughn checking in another week. First off, right off the bat, I hope that rumor of the PlayStation 5 reveal event is true for, I think it was June the 3rd, I heard. So definitely looking forward to that. I know you're going to be all over that, anticipating what they're going to say, what games they're going to show. And I'm pretty sure they're going to show gameplay, being that, you know, the flack that they saw Xbox take with that. So I'm looking forward to what they show on that. Your question last week, console war, is it good for gaming? I say, even though I don't like the fanboyism of it, I'm going to say absolutely. Because you got to keep in mind that without competition, there's no innovation. Just a couple of things off the top of my head. The Nintendo controller, we wouldn't have the controllers that we have if, you know, it wasn't for that. The Sony Blu-ray disc playing DVDs and Blu-rays from Sony, and then of course Xbox with online. So all innovations that they all, you know, if it was only one console or something like that, there wouldn't have been any innovation to make them work harder against each other to improve and be better. So in that aspect of it, I'm going to say yes, absolutely. My question for you this week, what does Nintendo have to do to get Kiaun to purchase a Nintendo system or console? I think I remember you saying that you weren't really into Nintendo products or their systems. So what would they need to do to win you over? All right, that's it for me. I'm out. Peace.
Shout out to you, brother. Thank you again for the voicemails. Please continue to keep them coming, brother. It's always great to hear your voice, and it's always great to hear your questions and your input, brother. Now, getting into your voicemail, I want to say that you made some very, very good points when you were talking about, you know, the different innovations of the different companies like Nintendo, the controller. We wouldn't have, it is a huge possibility, and I don't know if people just sit back and think about this. It is a very, very good possibility that we would not have analog sticks or rumble technology. Now I understand Nintendo got sued because they were using the technology and didn't get the license or whatever for it. But the fact of the matter is that technology wasn't being used in controllers, and Nintendo brought that to the game. They made the analog stick become popular with the N64 and the rumble technology. So that is a very, very key point that we cannot forget about what Nintendo brought to the table. And to this day, we're using analog sticks. It is the standard. So we gotta thank Nintendo for that. As far as Sony, that was another good point with the Blu-ray discs. Now with games being so big, being so filled with data, Vaughn, those things are necessary. It is no way we will be getting the sizes of games that we get now on a regular DVD. So Sony definitely brought that technology to the table. They put it in the PlayStation 3, and now it is the standard format for the games. It is the standard gaming format. And then you talk about Xbox. People forget about them as well. Xbox, the online element. They brought that to gaming. People say Dreamcast did it first as far as consoles. You're right. They did. That is the GOAT. Dreamcast to me died way too soon. It is definitely up there as one of my all-time favorite consoles, no question. But people forget that on the front of the Dreamcast, you could see Windows CE. So they did have something to do with the manufacturing. Well, maybe not the manufacturing, but they did have a hand in the Dreamcast. So yeah, like you said, like everyone has basically been saying in their emails, it's about the innovation. You know, one manufacturer does one thing, then the next one they have to possibly either adopt that or do something that exceeds that, you know, to just keep with the times and keep people wanting to come back to their product is very, very important. Now, Vaughn, you also, since I brought up Nintendo, you were saying, you know, do I have a problem with Nintendo? No, you didn't ask that I have a problem. You said, what would Nintendo have to do for me to get one of their systems? I'm going to tell you, Vaughn, that's something else, brother. I actually have a Nintendo Switch upstairs. I've had it now for about 3 years, I would say. And I'm going to tell you, I didn't open it up until last year, brother. I'll be honest with you. It sat in the box for forever. And someone, they had done something for me. The person will stay, you know, nameless, you know, but they, out of respect for them, but they had did something for me, and it prompted me to open up the Nintendo Switch, and man, what an amazing, incredible system. Now, the problems that I did have with Nintendo, which stopped me from really rocking with them for years on top of years, was I didn't like any of the games that they had. I didn't like the fact that they barely ever had any M-rated titles on their consoles. And they never. Now, this is just a me situation. This is just me personally. I ain't like the fact that they kept that Wii U at the same price point when it was dying, Vaughn. It was dying a slow, painful death, and Nintendo refused. They absolutely fought tooth and nail and said, we're not dropping the price. This system was DOA, brother. I mean, dead on arrival. And it was just the stubbornness of Nintendo. This is the same company that back in the 80s and the 90s didn't want you to be able to to rent. I'm all tongue-tied right now. Let me get it together, Vaughn. They were the same company that didn't want to let video companies rent out their games. They tried to stop them from doing that. I mean, Nintendo has just been shysty and shady for forever, brother. So I've had a lot of problems with them, but mainly, another thing that I didn't like about Nintendo was they never got third-party support. They were always on life support when it came to third-party. It was like, good grief, so I just couldn't rock with them at all. But I'm going to tell you, the Nintendo Switch, what a 180. I said last year, Vaughn, I thought they had the best E3 showing out of everybody. Their E3 was amazing. Absolutely incredible. And I'm going to tell you one other thing that got me hyped up about the Switch. And it was a AA game. And that was My Friend Pedro. I saw that game. I said, God dang, man, I got to have this. I got to buy it. It was $20, Vaughn. It was $20, man. So I picked that up. And my fiance, she got me Mario Odyssey. That game is, good grief. The Switch, Nintendo, we back on, brother. We back on after like a 20-year hiatus. I'm back with Nintendo, but it was because Nintendo, they finally start showing games that me as a gamer, I could appreciate and I could get behind. It's always about that, Vaughn. So, I just truly appreciate this voicemail. It was great. I hope I answered your question, brother. But please, Vaughn, please, brother, just keep on sending the voicemails. I love hearing from you. Like I said, it's just great to, just be able to interact with you guys. So thank you so much, Vaughn. And shout out to you too, brother. Again, shout out to Vaughn. He won the $25 PlayStation gift card. Shout out to you, brother. He hit me up on Twitter. If any of you guys want to follow me over there, I'm not super active on it, but it's at Kiaun79. If you want to hit me up, that's at Kiaun 79 over on Twitter. Hit me up. We can talk. And shout out to you for once again winning the card. And thank you again, Vaughn, for the voicemail. Really, really appreciate it. Now, up next is my guy, my dude. Got it writes in every single week. Mr. Free Fly Ferret Fly Brother Fly. Now the title of his email is Rich Kid Syndrome. Oh man, how we rocking this week, brother? He says, my brother. So lately I've been a little disappointed with the gaming community. We can sure act like a bunch of spoiled children sometimes. You have these developers who work for years on a project and are ripped to shreds if what they give us is not perfect on all levels. Hell, when I started out, I had to punch in a code I got out of a magazine or make something up just to play a simple game on a monochrome monitor, and it was awesome. If I've learned one thing from Game Pass, it's that there are a whole lot of games that I was missing out on before just because I myself had become spoiled by AAA titles. We are blessed these days, and maybe we should take a step back and realize it. Your thoughts? Free Fly, I'm gonna tell you, brother, excellent email. Very, very good email. Now this is good because you are right, man. That's just such a great point. If a game nowadays isn't a 95 or higher, you at least got to be in the 90s, as it were. If you're not in the 90s or better, a lot of people consider it a failure. And that is just ridiculous. ridiculous. You have some people out there, they refuse to play AA games because they have the title, not the title, but they have the tag AA attached to the game, and they think it's terrible. They think it's cheap. I would tell anybody out there, Cuphead, amazing game, hard as heck, but an incredible game. It's a AA. You have Ori and the Will of the Wisp, AA game, absolutely fantastic. And I'll say this, a game that gets a 75, man, you gotta understand, Free Fly, I guess we're around the same age, brother. I'm sure you come from the Nintendo era, man, playing the NES on games that needed that up, down, left, right code. You know what I'm talking about, brother. Back then, and I've said this before, you want to talk about broken, messed up games, you go back to the 80s and to the 90s, brother. Some of these games were horrible. You talk about controls now and, just games just lacking polish. Take a trip back down to the 80s and 90s, man, and check out some of those games and tell me that those controls weren't busted on a ton of those games. And just to point out, this 75 thing that people say, man, if a game gets that low of a score, it's a terrible game. It's been some great games that I've scored at 75. Sleeping Dogs. That game, I gave it like a 7 point. That was more like a 7.7, but it was such a good game. The combat was fantastic. Story was very, very good. And I just loved the gameplay. And then the game that I talked about last week, Mafia 3, another fantastic game. That game, I gave it a 7.5 because it had a lot of technical problems, but the gameplay was good. People could say it was repetitive or whatever, but I thought the story was top notch. The voice acting was top notch. And because of that, even though I scored it a 7.5, it was still a game that I enjoyed so much. So you are right, Free Fly. We are very blessed in these days, brother. Especially now where AAA games, we just have a influx, game after game after game after game. Back in the 80s and 90s, we weren't getting big titles like that. We might get one a year back then. It was not nearly at the height that we're at now. So I definitely agree with you, Free Fly Ferret. Excellent email, brother. I truly appreciate you writing in, taking the time out of your busy day. It truly means so much, brother. Please keep the emails coming. Thank you so much, brother. And thank everyone else so much for writing in. Shout out to you, Goose. Thank you, brother. Shout out to John. Shout out to, Free Fly Ferret. Man, I got something in my throat, brothers. Pardon me. Shout out to Free Fly Ferret and shout out to, man, Vaughn. I'm sorry, brother. Good grief. Having some technical difficulties. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and move into the next section of the podcast while I try to get it together. I ain't making no edits, god dog, and I can't. This is unprofessional productions over here. Now, as far as what I've been into, brothers, god dag, we had 37 minutes. Yeah, I gotta put that tag in the beginning. This one was stacked, brother. This one was stacked. So without further ado, man, let's go ahead and get into, because I wasn't into anything this week. We're gonna go ahead and get into the gaming news that went down, and boy, oh boy, do we have a lot of it. So let's start off with, let's just say a reoccurring rumor that we talked about, I would say 2 years ago or so. So we have word, according to a Swedish website called iNet, that the alleged Metroid Prime Trilogy from the Wii will be released on the Switch on June 19th. Now, I have to point this out. Now, this is very important. Now, this listing never said that this was a remaster, let alone a remake. So these games could be literally just ports, completely untouched. I don't know how well that's going to go over. Nowadays, usually when you do something like this, but is this typical Nintendo though? More than likely, this is what they do. I really like Nintendo. We're on a good basis right now. But man, that don't stop them from doing what they want to do. We all know this. Could they have the gall to bring out Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3 from the Wii era untouched on the Switch? I don't know. We have been waiting to hear word about this new Metroid Prime 4. This thing has been MIA the whole time. So we'll have to see what happens with this. Let's see if Nintendo is going to talk about this sometime, because right now, as it stands, once again, this is not confirmed, but it is a rumor from iNet that the games will release on June 19th. We know that Nintendo, they're not having a direct this year. They told all of the people that they had on the docket, man, just not scrap it, but don't even worry about it. We're not doing anything right now. It's getting pushed back, and we don't know when they're going to have their E3-esque direct. Who the heck knows? But we'll see. But let's go ahead and move on into the next story. So we gotta talk about some very interesting Kingdom Hearts news. Now, according to Skylar Schuler of the Diz Insider, he said in a tweet, and I quote, "Been tagged in Jeremy's post," which is true. "So here's what I know. Kingdom Hearts will be a Disney Plus series, not a movie. It's animated CG. Disney voice actors are expected to reprise their roles, those being Jim Cummings, Bill Farmer, Tony Anselmo. All I know." End of quote. Now, the report also pointed out that Square Enix is going to do the pilot using the Unreal Engine. And after that, the CG animation will be done by another studio whose name hasn't been disclosed at this time. Now, also, there is no word at this time if the original voice actor of Sora will reprise the role as well. Sora as well as the Final Fantasy characters. So right now, all we have to do is wait for the official word from Disney or Square Enix, or even both. Would you love to see a Kingdom Hearts god doggone miniseries on daggone Disney Plus? I mean, man, this could be absolutely incredible. Now, we know that Disney Plus, so far, yes, the service is new. It's just a couple of months old, but we see what they've done with, Mandalorian. I mean, good gosh, people love that show. And we're talking about Disney, multi-billion-dollar company. If they took Kingdom Hearts CG and really put money behind it, this could be incredible. I don't even have Disney Plus right now. I'm not really a big movie buff guy, anything like that. I haven't really watched movies in quite some time, man. It's just, I ain't really got the time. But to see Kingdom Hearts, I don't know. I might just dabble for maybe a month just to see what's going on. But let's go ahead. Let's move on in. That'd be so dope. God dang, man. But let's go ahead and move into some rumors. So these rumors about the PlayStation 5 reveal event, hold on, man, hold on. No. Hey, Vaughn, this is for you, brother. I'm sure you know just like I know. It has actually already been confirmed. Oh, man, it's gonna get serious. On June 4th, PlayStation is hitting the stage. We are going to find out some information about the PlayStation 5. Now, I do want to read this story because this could be interesting, y'all. It could be. Now, of course, I want to point out that Bloomberg, they actually started the June 3rd rumor. They missed it by a day. Now, this is something else that was reported. It was they were saying in a report that this first presentation isn't going to reveal all of the console's essential details, which will be revealed during other presentations that will be held in the following weeks and months. So we see that this just be just a small reveal, let you guys get your feet wet, and just see what Sony is doing. I mean, right now, Bloomberg, man, we got something. I know you see that question this week. Trust me, you're gonna want to stick around to the end because some very, very interesting news has come out about that. But it has been confirmed. I'm sure it's going to be great, and we're going to talk about it a little later. Because when I wrote this down, it was still up in the air. It was still slated for June 3rd. Of course, in the report, they did say that date wasn't concrete and that the date could change at any minute. Of course, it only changed a day. Bloomberg was 1 day off. One. To me, that gives them more credence of knowing how much the PlayStation 5 actually costs to manufacture. A lot of people were saying, I don't know, I know it's Bloomberg, but could they really have the numbers? Good grief. We're talking they were 99% accurate. They missed it by 1 day. Not 6 months, not 3 weeks, not 2 weeks, 1 day. So, man, maybe they really do know what Sony's manufacturing cost. Anyway, let's go ahead and move into a quick Xbox news story. Now, a pre-order page for the Xbox Series X is up on Microsoft's main website. Now, of course, you can't pre-order it yet, but this does show that they are gearing up for the inevitable launch of the Series X. Man, I can't wait for that to go live because I'm jumping on it. Let's go ahead and let's talk about Square Enix. Now, Square Enix game The Avengers hasn't been seen or heard from in a while. So I know I have been waiting for this game, and I was happy to hear that Square is hosting a live War Table broadcast of the game. Now, here is their quote from Twitter that says, "We've reassembled at home and are working to finish our mission. We can't wait to show you new gameplay and co-op in our first Marvel Avengers War Table stream on June 24th. End of quote. I am so excited. I know a lot of people last year at E3, I just couldn't understand it for the life of me. They were down on this game. Now, granted, have I been keeping up with all of the movies? Nope. I sure haven't, brothers. Nah, I haven't watched a Marvel film since doggone the Avengers, the doggone first one. I'm telling you, I'm out the loop. So for me, I'm not all tied into the actual real characters. Some people were getting mad because the characters of Iron Man and Captain America weren't doggone Robert Downey Jr. I'm like, brother, can you imagine how much the license or whatever would cost for that? So I don't really care about that. All I saw was a game that looked amazing to me. And some people at E3 were like, nah, I was more excited about the Nintendo Switch version. I'm like, what the frick? What? You mean to tell me you were more excited about Ultimate Alliance 3 being shown on the Switch? Brother, you're lying. You gotta be lying. I mean, it is no comparison. But some people were saying this and my mind was blown. I mean, just completely blown away that somebody would say anything like that. So for me, look, I'm pumped up. I can't wait to see this game. It looked amazing. Man, I mean, people were talking about it wasn't showing off real gameplay. I'm like, gameplay was in there. And then when they showed off that demo, the official demo, oh my gosh, man, stop it. Stop it. Man, I tell you, I can't wait. I'm pumped up. June 24th. I'm so looking forward to this game. This is one of my most anticipated as well. You got Cyberpunk 2077. You got The Last of Us Part 2. Oh, shucks. Oh, man, let me go ahead and wrap this up. June 24th. Yes, looking forward to it. Let me talk about The Last of Us Part 2. God dag, brothers. Oh my goodness, man. You want, whoo, gosh. Game of the year, doggone, what do you call it? Game of the year, I ain't gonna say it's gonna win Game of the Year, but it's definitely gonna get a nod for it. It's gonna be in the category for Game of the Year. That game looks undern believable. I mean, incredible. When she was stabbing the dudes, oh man, it looked like Ellie did some prison time, man. It looked like she was straight up shanking mother lovers. I mean, like on some prison type tip. It was, just the sheer amount of violence. Did you see how she is killing these people? The one that stood out the most to me, oh my gosh, goodness gracious, I felt it. I felt it in my heart. Like, oh, gosh, that hurts. Was when she was swimming. And, man, this is just the detail of Naughty Dog. When she was swimming up with a backpack on her back, and she caught the, as people have been saying, the last PlayStation Vita owner slipping. I was saying to myself, man, she can't hear all of this water slushing and moving around. This is unrealistic. All of a sudden, she gets up on her. Ellie gets up on her with the knife, and you see that she has the earbuds, and I'm like, oh, man. And then she raised her hand, and you saw it was the beat. I'm like, oh, man, this is so incredible. And then when she was, asking her, what was going on, where was whoever the person was, and the woman, she was getting ready to spare her. Ellie was taking the knife away from her throat. She tried to turn around, and when Ellie stabbed her in the neck, oh gosh, I'm telling you, when that happened and you saw her grab for her neck and she's just choking on her own blood. Oh my gosh. I said, Naughty Dog, my goodness. You guys got something here. That game was unbelievable looking. And then the other scene that stood out to me was when she took the, what was it? I can't think of the name of it. The bottle, the Molotov. When she took the Molotov, and I know y'all know which part I'm about to talk about. If you saw the demo, you know exactly which part I'm about to bring up. When she threw that Molotov down off of the ledge, and you heard the dog was walking around and she burnt the dog, and you heard that whimper. Oh, shucks. I mean, look, listen. We all know that gaming, it's not real, okay? I mean, it's a depiction in some cases of what real life can be. Sometimes it's a parody, depending on what you're playing. But it's very rare that I actually, especially when it comes to animals and games, I'm not, unless it's a character that's with me, like we're talking about like Shadow Dancer, where you got the dog and you can sick him on people. Man, that was my joint right there. That was my boy right there. But, I don't really get too wrapped up in the dogs, and I haven't played, Fallout 4, cause I know you got a dog companion or whatever, and what is it, Far Cry 5. Anyway, I'm getting off track. When that dog whimpered, man, good gosh, I felt that. I said, man, this sounds really accurate of what a dog would probably sound like if he or she was in agonizing pain. I said, man, they are not playing. And you do have the option not to kill dogs or anything like that. Look, listen, brothers, listen, I'm gonna tell you right now. If dog, Big Doberman, Benjamin coming after me, man, look, it's either me or him. That's all I can say is me or him. And it ain't gonna be me. This game, man, despite the leaks, despite people spoiling the story, which I freaking hate that happened, the game has still sold extremely well. And I'm glad, because the wrench time has been put in for this game. I'm very, very excited to get my hands on it with just a few short weeks away. But that demo, god dang, man, really, really fantastic. And then at the end, man, it's going to be a long podcast. I'm sorry. I'm taking a long time to get through it. I'm sorry, y'all. Apologize about it. But man, this was so dope. The last part that you saw. Now, this is a spoiler. I usually don't do spoilers, but I'm going to count it down. Fast forward about a good minute or two so you won't hear this. But spoiler coming in 3, 2, 1. At the end of the game, right, when you play The Last of Us, the first one, they have that extra DLC where you see Ellie and her, they weren't girlfriends or whatever. I mean, they were friends, but, you know, they had the kiss or whatever, Riley. And you know that Riley, she got bit. At the end of the game, they both did, and they both thought that they were going to die. Of course, Ellie made it. We all thought that, of course, Riley, she died because she wasn't immune to it. But at the end of that trailer, when you see her come into the room and she has the gun drawn and she tells that girl, "You remember me?" Everybody, including myself, I said, wait a goddamn second. Wait a minute. Is that Riley from The Last of Us DLC? Is that her? Didn't she die? Of course, we don't know yet. We don't know what's going on. I have no idea. But that is a theory going around that Riley could have survived. Who knows what, man? Can you imagine the plot twist that would be? If she set Ellie up, because it sounded like Ellie was upset with her. I mean, she told her, you know, put that stuff down. You know, so it seemed like she was upset with her. I mean, there's some animosity in the air. Can you imagine if she set Ellie up? Because we know that her and her girlfriend, they got caught in a violent attack. Wouldn't it be something that if Riley set her up? I could be going way far left. I don't know. These are the things that are going on. But anyway, look, I've rambled a long time. I'm going to go ahead and I promise y'all, we're going to go ahead and we're going to speed through the rest of this gaming news. Now, let's go ahead and let's talk about Sega, because according to Japanese technology journalist Zenji Nishikawa, finally got one, y'all. Nishikawa, this news is going to be huge. Quote, "It's a scoop from a game company that everyone loves. An inside scoop. Last year, Wired got the exclusive story on PlayStation 5, right? Other media didn't. It's that level of a scoop. I interviewed a certain company's executive and technical staff. It's really revolutionary. Really. It's a revolution." End of quote. Now, this article will be available to read in the June 4th issue of Famitsu. Now, in closing, Zenji said this news will, quote, "rile up the games industry." End of quote. Now, it's worth noting that this article will release on the same day that Sega turned 60 years old, which is June 4th. Because I had to do some research on this. Actually for us in the States, we're like 13 hours, behind that region. And when this news actually comes out, it'll be June 3rd here technically, but it'll be June 4th over in Sega's actual home country region when this information comes out. So people, man, another story that has set the internet ablaze. Can't everybody say, I was about to say, can you imagine? But everybody is saying that Sega's about to throw their hat back into the console ring. I say, wait a minute, brothers. Hold on. I know we're very, very excited to hear this news. This guy is talking about this is revolutionary. No, really, it's a revolution. I don't know what the world this could be when you use words like rile up the games industry. Other people are starting to speculate that Microsoft has bought Sega. I don't know about that. People said that you can't buy, an American company can't buy a Japanese company, but that is not true. They actually are able to do that. So that does, I mean, like I was talking about earlier with the Dreamcast, we know that Sega and Microsoft, they have had ties in the past. Lately, Sega's been bringing their Yakuza games over to the Xbox platform and to Game Pass. I mean, so it's a relationship there. Nobody can say that they don't have some kind of relationship with Sega. Now, would I go as far as to say that Microsoft actually bought Sega? I really don't think that happened, and I don't think that they're working on another console. Could they survive in a console space right now as the fourth leg in the race? Man, that would be tough. I just don't know if Sega can pull that off right now. I mean, Sony is so strong right now. Microsoft, they're gearing up to get strong. Nintendo, they're Nintendo. They're going to do what they do. For Sega to jump back into the console race, I don't think that's what they're going to do. However, maybe Microsoft has a partnership with Sega, or maybe Sony has something going on with Sega. We just got to wait till June 3rd and see what the world this is. I'm going to tell you, this guy Zenji, man, he is selling the heck out of this story. And I hope that it's fireworks like he says. But I do want to say, let's try, guys. Let's just try to temper our expectations, because we know what happens when our imagination starts to go wild with possibilities. And I am number one guilty for this, but we know that if we get information that and I doubt that it's going to be this, but a new Sonic is coming out, it's going to be like, yo, brother, are you serious? Is this what you got me pumped up for to hear? This Sonic is making a comeback, man. Get the heck out of here. And if we, and having high expectations, it can kind of just take down the whole mood of something that might not really be that bad of an announcement. So we'll have to see what happens. June 3rd is just, 3 days away when I'm recording this, which is Sunday / during their Monday morning. So we'll have to see, man. But let's go ahead. Man, it's going to be interesting. But let's go ahead and move on to the next story. So I gotta shout out Mike J. Shout out to you, Mike J., for bringing this amazing story to my attention. Now, partner director of program management for the Xbox platform team, Jason Ronald, talked about and confirmed some features we can expect to experience when the Series X releases. Quote, in partnership with the Xbox Advanced Technology Group, Xbox Series X delivers a new, innovative HDR HDR reconstruction technique, which enables the platform to automatically add HDR support to games. As this technique is handled by the platform itself, it allows us to enable HDR with zero impact to the game's performance, as we can also apply it to Xbox 360 and original Xbox games titles developed almost 20 years ago, well before the existence of HDR. End of quote. Now, Jason also said, and I want to quote this again, we are also creating whole new classes of innovations, including, now this is incredible, the ability to double the frame rate of a select set of titles from 30 frames per second to 60 frames per second, or, wait for it, 60 frames per second to 120 frames per second. Now, Microsoft also said the games will run without needing a boost mode. Oh, that's a shot. Oh, shoot, they shooting at Sony. It will not need it will run games without needing a boost mode, and there is no downclocking, and oh shucks, God darn, now this is the spicy Microsoft I like to see. Now these jokers said, look, listen, man, we ain't got to talk all that jargon, Mark Cerny. Look, listen, it's running at 60. It can run up to 60 to 120, and guess what? We don't need a boost mode or any downclocking. That's spicy. Man, I like this. So listen, man, this is the beauty of backwards compatibility. Some people are downplaying this feature, and it drives me up the wall. I don't understand. Look, listen, man, let me put this down for a second. How the world can you be upset about a company that is giving you more value for your money? Now, granted, now listen to this. You guys remember back when the PlayStation 2 first released, and Sony said, I hate when I get tongue-tied like this. Sony said that the PlayStation 2 was going to be backwards compatible. When they said that, and then it was this rumor going around at that time that it was going to make the games look better and run better. And when I played Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation 2, do you know what happened to me, brothers and sisters? Same thing that happened to you that tried it. That Joker was the same exact looking game. It wasn't until I got this emulator. Now, some of you old school cats might remember this, and I think I talked about this before. It was this thing called a Bleemcast back in the day. It was a disc that was by a company called Bleem, Bleem, and you would put they had different games. They had Tekken, they had Gran Turismo, and they had Metal Gear Solid. Those were the only three games that I saw. Bought it in an electronic boutique, and they said that it would make the game look better. I put in that Bleemcast disc into the Dreamcast, and then I put my Metal Gear disc. Keep in mind, this is a PlayStation disc that I put into the Dreamcast, and it actually made the game look better. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't freaking believe it. So what they had advertised, or we heard that was rumored that was supposed to be on the PlayStation 2, I had to get a doggone third-party software and run it on a darn Dreamcast to get the doggone graphical bump that I was supposed to get back in the PlayStation 2 days. But here you have Microsoft that are out here letting us know thousands of games are going to be compatible with the Series X. And not only now we got to remember, they said some, I'm not going to say the whole doggone library of the thousands of games or whatever will have these features, but some of these games going all the way back to the original Xbox are going to use and have HDR, as well as making the games run at a higher frame rate. We're talking double the frame rate. How is that a bad thing? How can you underplay that? That is amazing bang for the buck. I mean, so much so that, I mean, good grief, Gears of War 5, that came out. They were showing it on Digital Foundry. What was it, running like 100 frames per second? And it wasn't even optimized. Come on. And you want to underplay that. People ask for these companies to give us more for our money, and Microsoft, they are doing it. But yet people want to continue to underplay the value that they're giving us. Well, they ain't giving it to us. We paying for it. Don't make no mistake about it. We're paying for it. I mean, even to get that experience, you have to buy the Series X. So you got to shell out some money. But I mean, good grief, man. I just don't understand where the hate comes from. And that's a good point that you brought up earlier too, Cody, where you were saying that some people, they're just basically jaded. But, you know, hopefully eventually people will catch on and they will see that this is a fantastic feature, something that everybody can benefit from. We all got backlogs. How cool would it be to be able to put a game in that you didn't finish? Not only are you getting HDR on it, but you're getting better frames per second on it. Come on, guys. God dang. Let's go ahead, though, man. Let's move on into the next story. I mean, I'm so pumped up about that feature. Man, I can't wait. But, congrats, though, to CD Projekt Red for reaching a milestone. These guys set a milestone of selling over 50 million copies of The Witcher 3, which is celebrating its 5th year of release. Congratulations to you, CD Projekt Red. God dang, that means they were 10 million copies a year? Good gosh. That's immense. God darn, shout out to y'all. Let's go ahead and get into this next story. We're almost done, guys. We're closing in. Good grief, we're at an hour and 9 minutes. My gosh. Now let's talk about Final Fantasy rumors. Now a leak is claiming that Final Fantasy 16 and a new IP from Square Enix called Crimson Arbitranium will be unveiled this summer at a gaming event. Now there were also some comments about what the game will feature as far as the alleged Final Fantasy 16 is concerned. Now, the game will take place in a fantasy-based universe that will incorporate steampunk elements, and the game will have Naoki Yoshida directing it, and the game will have combat inspired from Final Fantasy 15 and Dark Souls, which is very interesting. They're trying to make the game harder. Man, I don't know. But right now, this is a rumor. Final Fantasy 16, no confirmed date or anything from Square Enix. So we definitely got to wait to see if this is true or not. Let's go ahead and move into the next story. So, up to this point, we were just talking about this. Everyone has been wondering how committed will Sony be to the backwards compatibility? Well, it's being reported that Sony is they're telling developers that new games coming out for the PlayStation 4 also need to be compatible with PlayStation 5. Now, this rule will kick in for games submitted to Sony on and after July 13th, 2020. Now, PlayStation 4 games released before July 2020 are, quote, strongly recommended, end of quote, to be patched or remastered for PlayStation 5 compatibility. So here we go, man. Here we go again. Competition. Jim Ryan or whoever said it. I might be saying the wrong person, but someone over in the Sony camp at one point said that who wants to play old games? Who's going to do that? Now you have Sony basically during their mandating that you know, basically games from July 20th, before July 20th, they are strongly recommending that they be patched. And this is only because of what Microsoft is doing. So anything that has come from, like I said, July, I'm not going to keep repeating it. Y'all heard me, brothers. Y'all got it. But this is very, very interesting. But see, this is the one thing about this that I'm not sure that developers are going to vibe with, because didn't Microsoft say that the developers don't have to do anything for their games to run on the Series X? Whereas right here, they're saying that on the PlayStation 5, these games need to be patched or Oh, shucks. Wait a freaking second. Wait a minute. Let me put this down again. Wait a second. They said, did y'all hear that? Patch it or remaster it for the PlayStation 5. Could this mean? Now, of course, we don't know. We can only go off of what we know at this very, very second. Could this mean that they don't have a real answer for smart delivery, where a game just automatically knows the hardware that it's on and it upgrades itself to run at that certain standard of performance? Oh, shucks, that could be not a deal breaker. I mean, look, Sony is too strong of a name. The PlayStation brand is too strong of a brand for that to be a deal breaker. But can you just imagine for a second, just a moment, the possible backlash? Because here it says it right here. Once again, I'm going to read it. PlayStation 4 games released before July 2020 are, quote, strongly recommended, end of quote, to be patched or remastered for the PlayStation 5. God dag, man. I don't know. Now, maybe remastered for the PlayStation. I don't know. How can you remaster something if you... Man, look, listen, if you're, I'm trying to get it together. This has been a tough episode for me. But if you're saying that it needs to be remastered for the PlayStation 5, doesn't that mean, in your mind, wouldn't that mean, because maybe I'm off, that you would be telling developers that, look, you got to take this game and remaster it over again so it will play on the PlayStation 5. And that could mean getting a whole separate copy of the same game that you might own on the PlayStation 4. Oh, shucks. This could be bad. I don't know. But let's go ahead, man. Shoot, we're going to keep this doggone Sony train rolling because Sony Interactive. Actually, nope. We're going to save that. We're going to save it. Let's go ahead and get to this next story. Okay. Now, it's a tweet that was sent out from Horizon Zero Dawn from their official Twitter that said, and I quote, "Join us Thursday, June 4th at 1 p.m. Pacific time for a look at the future of gaming on PlayStation 5. Now, this tweet started, end of quote. Now, this tweet started to get people wondering, could Horizon Zero Dawn 2 be shown? Now, look, I'm so excited about this show. But before you shut down the possibility of Horizon Zero Dawn 2 being shown at this show, listen to this quote. For at the time, CEO of Guerrilla Games, Herman Holst, who said back in 2018, and I quote, "We want to release games in the 2 or 3 years, both new titles and games based on existing titles," end of quote. So if you look back at when Horizon originally released, it was back in February of 2017, which means that it is almost 3.5 years old, which would fall in line with what Herman Holst said when he said that they want to get titles out 2 to 3 years. Man, shucks. If Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is a launch title. And oh shoot, we know how good that game looked on the PlayStation 4. We're talking about double, a little over double the power of the PlayStation 4. And can you imagine the graphical fidelity that we're going to get? This would be amazing. Now let's go ahead and get into the last story of this week, because I ain't gonna lie, I bumbled and I fumbled throughout this whole episode, but I thank you if you're still listening to the podcast. Now, in Xbox news, it's an app called Mercury, but it's the code name for an upcoming Xbox store redesign from the ground up on new architecture designed for 4K TVs, and it will run on Xbox Series X as well as Xbox One. Now, more than likely, it'll be Xbox One, and this is according to Windows Central. And the screenshot that they took said, and I quote, "Coming soon, please upgrade to access the latest and greatest," end of quote. Now, as it stands, if you try to download Mercury to your console, it fails. But maybe soon, a beta will happen, guys. I mean, if you look at how it actually looks, I don't even know if that makes sense, but if you saw the screenshot, I mean, this could quite possibly be, I guess, a look at what xCloud might be. But we'll have to see. I mean, it's an app. Nobody knows outside of it being an upgrade. Anyway, God dog, that is the end. God darn, I'm getting out of here of the gaming news, God dog. Man, I apologize. Oh, man, let me take a sip. Let me take a drink. Good gosh, get some of this apple juice up in my system. Oh, Lord, guys. Man, oh man, I've been tripping this whole episode, man. I apologize, man. But let me go ahead and get into the final section of the podcast. I thank you for still being here, because man, this is a bad episode. God darn. But you guys see the question of the week, right? I mean, good grief, I put it up there for a reason, man. We got some news, brothers. We got some news. So the question that I wanted to ask you guys, once again, I want to officially ask it. If PlayStation 5 is $500, would you be disappointed? Now, we've heard for quite some time that PlayStation, they're going to come in at that sweet price. Oh, that sweet nectar of a price point. But I got some news here from Mr. Herman Hulse. Now, let's go ahead and let's hear with Sony Interactive Entertainment President and CEO, Jim Ryan, said when he sat down with games industry to discuss a few things. Now this is, let me get his quote, man. He says, quote, okay, when he was asked about the economic impact of COVID, he said, and I quote, "It's quite logical. People don't have the money to go out, so they stay at home. Now, who knows how this recession is going to look, how deep it will be, and how long it will last. It could be that the historic template, the historic model that have applied in the past may not apply in the future. I think the best way that we can address this is by providing the best possible value proposition that we can. I don't necessarily mean lowest price. Value is a combination of many things. In our area, it means games. It means number of games, depth of games, breadth of games. Yeah. God darn, I fricked that all up. But here it is. You have Jim Ryan, CEO. he's coming out and he's saying, look, I don't know how this COVID-19 thing is going to go. I mean, sure, a lot of people, they're staying home because, they don't have the money to go out. But I'm going to let you know this, we value, our value is a combination of many things, but don't get it twisted. I don't necessarily mean that it's going to be the lowest price point. So with that being said, man, it sounds like Jim Ryan, and I'm real fricked up right now. I am. I'm up here reading this stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm very, very contemplative of really starting this podcast over and recording again. But it just shows that Jim Ryan, he's letting you know, look, I'm not saying that we're going to come in low. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to tell you we're going to give you value. We look at the combination of value being many things: games, number of games, depth of games, and breadth of games. Whatever the world that means. Anyway, that's the question for you guys. If PlayStation 5 is $500, would you be disappointed? You can be a part of this conversation two different ways by either calling in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard. Or you can email the show, and the email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and my goodness, wow, I really fricked up this week. But nonetheless, we will be back again next week. But until then, always remember, it is not about the consoles, it is about the games. So until next week, when we do it again, brothers and sisters, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.